my first interaction with the Y was actually on quad day freshman year. So like the Y hooked me very early on. It couldn't have gotten me earlier at the time because I don't think alternative orientation was a thing then. But it was very exciting. Like it was like service trips over spring break, sure. So I went on my first trip freshman year. I went to Gallup, New Mexico for Native American issues, and then over the next 5 years went on 7 trips between fall, spring, summer, winter breaks, and kind of just kept coming back for the people and the experiences and the learning. I ended up being on the planning board for 2 years, and I was on the board of governors for the Y, so that was really exciting. Just the quality people that I met, and I was an engineer in undergrad, and so especially in classes, like I didn't talk to a ton of people in classes. I met some interesting people through class, but pretty much anyone you ran into in the Y was going to be a quality person, so, or have an interesting story or some interesting background, or was up to something cool and, you know, something with social impact, which is always exciting to be talking to people who are dealing with real problems. And I think like interacting with other people from my trips, and there was one point where one of my friends said something to the effect of, I can't imagine dating anyone that wasn't somehow affiliated with ASB. So it's literally like all of us at that point were like, everyone you meet on a trip. I went to Nashville, Tennessee at one point to build wheelchair ramps for families in need, and the site contact there was just incredible. Like he understood what reflection was and why we were volunteering, and kind of some of the learning that students do in the time that they're like on a volunteer trip, even if it's only for 3 days, and like how important it was to meet the families. And I mean, I think it's really one of those things that for the site contact in Nashville, Tennessee, like every girl on the trip kind of wanted to marry a guy like him, and all the guys on the trip wanted to be a guy like him, and just it was really incredible. I actually took that experience and through my time in consulting would take several coworkers down to Nashville, and we'd work with that same organization and that same guy, and you know, people would take 2 or 3 days off work and we'd drive down to Nashville, build a couple of wheelchair ramps, and use that as vacation days. And so it was a lot of fun, and it's definitely something that, you know, people are like, what's your favorite ASB trip? I'm like, well, I went on 7, so I know like 70 people from those trips. It's really hard to pick just one, and had really impactful experiences at all of them in different cities dealing with different issues. But if I have to pick just one, it's probably that, because I went back so many times, because it was such a quality. You could take, as a professional, you could take 2 days off work and go down there and have an impact and also have fun and feel like you were on vacation. And so I can't necessarily say I pick a favorite, but that's certainly the one that, because I've gone back 5 times now, or a handful of times, that's probably the one that I say most, because it's just so, it's so open to other people, that like beyond college and the ASB experience was something I was able to share with coworkers, and that's something that I was able to say was like mine in the professional space. So that was very cool.